Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy Hump Day. Yes. Most of all, though, happy full moon to you guys. It is Wednesday, October 20th, and we're driving through in this full moon energies, aren't we? Uh, there's something that I wanted to share with the collective. There is a deeper understanding, a realization that I came to yesterday that I wanted to discuss with the greater collective here. So, we have this full moon, and according to the practice, the system that I use, which is true sidereal astrology, which takes into account the visible sky. Um, in terms of that, the full moon is in Pisces, and so what happened yesterday was that I was going through the motions, feeling through the energies and being active and being productive, as I have been recently. Um, and it came to a moment in my day, towards around the end of the day, around 5 o'clock or so, 4:30 ish, whatever, where needing to, I was feeling the need to, but then I was also hearing myself say, "You've got to pull back a little bit." I was in the mode, I was focused, driven, studying, researching, writing out outlines for, the month of November and Venus's transit, and like um, this has been my where my mind has been over the last few days, and that's great. But yesterday it came to a point where I was really needing to take a break and to pull back. So I did that. And I laid down on my bed and I just wanted to meditate. I just wanted to rest. I was feeling like I was hearing myself say, "You just need to rest right now." Okay. So as I laid down on my bed and I was meditating, I was focusing on the energies that were swirling within me and just allowing myself to flow through it and just being observant. That's one of my favorite ways to meditate. It's not to do anything really specific, it's other than just sit with myself and be observant with myself and what it is I'm feeling, what it is I'm thinking, what's the contents of my mind and my ego and my energetic body and all that. And so as I was doing this yesterday, I started to realize or recognize that I was feeling extremely driven. I was anxious. I was wanting things to move faster. I was wanting things to develop faster. I was wanting to get to the destination. And that energy is very much Mars, Aries type energy. So I was at that point getting a little bit confused and was going back and forth with myself in a conversation about, well, what do I make of this? Because I'm already kind of dealing with some of it's not like it's new, but I'm still dealing with a little bit of pushback. A lack of acceptance is what I'm hearing in my head, in the realm of, or in terms of the fact that I practice sidereal astrology, not mainstream astrology. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a big thing. That's not a topic of contention for me, but it is showing up, which makes sense because sidereal astrology is not is not as widely accepted as mainstream astrology or tropical astrology. Mainstream and tropical astrology are the same thing. Two names for the same thing. So while I was in my meditation yesterday and I was feeling through this energies and coming to a cognitive understanding of it, a conscious understanding of it, I started to question, well, wait a second. I'm feeling all this Mars, Aries type energy. Does this mean that I'm focused in the wrong field? Does this mean, like, am I feeling the effects of a full moon being in Aries and not in Pisces? Which was a little disturbing for me for a moment, but I rationalized it and said to myself, okay, well, instead of just freaking out about it, let's go look at the chart. But let's look at the chart from your point of view, not for the collective, but let's look at your natal chart and how the current position of the planets are transiting you right now. Great idea. So I did that. And as I was looking at my chart and understanding things, a few things came to mind. The first thing that struck me with this whole Mars, Aries, egoic push driven type energy, the first thing that I realized or remembered was the fact that we have this conjunction between the sun and Mars right now, and that's in Virgo. And so what I've come to understand recently, between observing the collective and then working with a specific individual that also has a very strong conjunction between Mars and the sun in their chart. I mean, and for them, it's an exact conjunction, like they're literally at the same degree, right? And so what the observation I've made is that when this happens, when when Mars and the sun conjunct each other, that's when the lines can begin to blur between your ego, your passion, your drive, and the steadiness of your soul, your sense of identity, the truth of who you are at the core of your being. And so when these two conjunct, Mars and the sun, the lines blur, and you can find yourself potentially going on egoic tirades or subconsciously uh, following through or acting out from your ego, thinking that it's coming from your soul, right? But that's the nature of a conjunction. When planets conjunct each other, when they cross each other, they blur. Okay, the lines blur between these two, what these two planets represent, and then it's further colored by the sign that this is happening in. Also, the realm in which this experience can pop up is indicative of the house that this is all in, and then it gets even more personal for you when you apply that to your birth chart. Okay. So that was the first thing. That was the first thing that I realized and was like, okay, all right, no, this makes sense as to why I'm feeling this egoic push. But then I kept digging, I kept looking. And as I kept looking, I found that in terms of my natal chart, my birth chart, my natal Mars is making, or at least yesterday, and probably today, well, whatever, at the moment, my natal Mars made a bunch of aspects to a ton of other planets. And those aspects were trines. There were 3 trines and a sextile, I believe. Now, what is a trine? A trine is somewhat of a benefic energy. Okay, it's a benefic. Benevolent. It's a benevolent energy, technically, but it can go either way. Okay, when you are experiencing a trine in your life, it's like there's an explosion of energy in a certain direction, and that can either go exactly where you want it to go. It can be really, really great, or it can be really, really bad, right? A trine can be considered as a slippery slope or the express lane, okay? And it can go either way. So with my natal Mars having a trine, I don't remember exactly what other planets they were, but there were like 3 trines and a sextile. There was a lot of, there was a big rush of energy on behalf of my Mars energy, on behalf of my drive, my ego, my sense of action, my passion, and all of that stuff, right? So with that said, just there alone, let's take the conjunction between the sun and Mars out of the situation, and we just look at my natal Mars and all of the beneficial and supportive energies surrounding my ego and my sense of action. It makes so much sense as to why at that moment yesterday, or by the time I reached the end of my day, I started to recognize this egoic push. So it wasn't that I personally was experiencing a full moon in Aries. It was more that for me personally, I was experiencing a big push, a big dose of energy within the realm of Mars for me. So there you go. So, and then the last thing that really drove the nail into the coffin, very last nail into the coffin, was I looked and there was an aspect, I believe it was a trine, or maybe it was the sextile, I don't remember, but there was a specific aspect between big Mars, which is the Mars that, Mars that's moving through the sky, and my natal Mars. And on top of that, big Mars right now, hi Jinxie, big Mars right now is conjunct the sun, yes, but in Virgo. So there is a lot of drive towards refinement. There is a lot of drive towards self-improvement. There is a lot of drive towards potentially even getting things done, okay? Placing new structures or better structures in your life. And with the Mars and Sun conjunction, that affects you on a soul level, okay? So there's probably a lot of reconstructing happening for you on a soul level as the Sun and Mars have been making this conjunction and have been transiting through Virgo. So that right there, with big Mars and my natal Mars making an aspect to each other, a beneficial aspect, technically, there was even more push, there was even more drive, there was this even more sense of the egoic sense of wanting to get there, wanting to get it done, wanting to have this in place, wanting to, and all that stuff. And this is all surrounding my sense of self-improvement, improvement in work, my shift in focus, my shift in practice and all that stuff. And I just wanted to get there. But that's all the aspects that my Mars was making, or that other things were making to my Mars. So I wanted to explain that to you guys. I wanted to share that revelation, that realization with you guys. This is, and me talking about this is also kind of an argument for studying your chart or following along with your chart. And that is a service that I'm looking to offer in the near future. My whole process here is shifting from just being a straight up tarot reader and channeler to actually having my base in astrology and what's happening with the planets in our sky and how that affects us, and then pulling on that and using my channeling ability and my connection with the tarot cards to read about that, to understand that, to pull out the pieces. And so I'm definitely looking to add more astrology to my services. And I'm also looking to, at some point in the near future, I'm looking to implement a system or a package where I take a finite number of people. It's going to be pretty small in the beginning, but I take a finite number of people and I work with you specifically, personally, individually, on a weekly basis, in which we talk about some of the major aspects that may be happening for you for that week. And we discuss this, we go through this, we talk about the pitfalls, the potential upliftment, the big changes that may happen and all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely looking to implement that. And that's going to be on a weekly basis. So my idea right now is to have these individuals that want to work with me in this way. And every week, my thought, this is just a preliminary thought, but I'm bouncing it off you guys, see if anybody is interested. But I have your chart information, and every week I sit down and I look at your chart and I follow through and I pick out certain things that you might want to look out for, things that may happen, circumstances that may come up or may get resolved throughout that week. And then I would send you like a video talking about that. And this is all the Sun and Mars conjunct in Virgo for all of us. So that's how it's being expressed in my life. Think about how it could be expressed in your life. Yeah? I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. I am looking to do happy hour tonight. Tentatively, we'll see how the day goes. But with this, moon in Pisces energy, it may just be a good idea to rest, to really work on yourself, to focus on the full moon, to focus on what it is you want to be releasing in order to receive later on. Yeah, I'm actually kind of feeling like this might be a good solitary night, but we'll see. I'll let you guys know, or at least you'll see the live when it's there. But anyway, I love you guys, and thank you all so much for being here with me. Thank you so much for following along, walking this path with me. I know I've been saying a lot over the last year of all these different things that I wanted to do. Like, I completely forgot about the fact that I mentioned I might want to do a book club. You guys remember that? Yikes, that never happened. But now that Saturn, Jupiter, and even Mercury, but this really got into place for me when Saturn started going direct, and now Jupiter's direct. But now that we are direct here, my sense of focus, my sense of vision, and what it is I actually want to put effort towards and work towards in the long term, now I have an understanding of that, and that's astrology. So I want to study this more. And I want to work with you guys. I invite you guys to join me in studying this. We can study this together. The best way for us to do that together would be for you to join Patreon, because first of all, you get a discount on Patreon. If you're a Patreon member, you get a discount on um, any sort of readings or sessions that you have with me. Also, you get an insider view as to my revelations here, like what I discussed with you guys here. We talked about over on Patreon briefly yesterday when I was going through it. And then also, Patreon is going to get first dibs on this uh, monthly service of me working with you directly, okay? And then any sort of um, studying topics, if we want to start talking about each of the planets, if we want to start talking about each of the signs, if we want to start talking about each of the houses, the aspects, all kinds of things philosophically in terms of astrology, I am looking to do that more, but that's most likely going to start out on Patreon as well. I'm in the process of redeveloping the tiers on Patreon. So if you're interested in this, if this is piquing your interest, know that we are moving forward with it. But just give me a little bit more time while I continue to flesh out the details and how I really want to work with things. But put that on the back of on the back burner, in the back of your mind. You know, set that on pause for a second. And if you want to join Patreon now, you can, but just understand that the tiers that are set up there for Patreon right now are not ultimately what it's going to be in the future. Those are going to change. Okay, but anyway, that's all I have for right now. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic day. I hope you have a fantastic full moon cycle. And I look forward to connecting with you again very, very soon. Yes? Fantastic. Mwah! Bye.